Hey guys, welcome back to my channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a small cap Canadian company operating in the MJ space, specifically focused on processing and extraction. Now very similar to some of the other companies we've talked about on this channel, I'm super excited and bullish on this area and the industry on a macro scale. Now the company name is Ayurcann Holdings. They trade under the ticker symbol AYUR, and I think this company offers tremendous upside for people getting in at these levels for a number of reasons that we're going to talk about in this video. Now before we get into it, you guys, please take a second to smash the like button. It helps both me and the channel out in a huge way. Speaking of the channel itself, McNallie Money, feel free to subscribe if you're not already, and let me know in the comments section below what you think of this analysis, if you're currently holding Ayurcann shares, and what you think of their growth prospects moving forward. Now on a final note, you guys, in the video description below there's a link to QuestTrade. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, you're looking to get involved with investing, and you want to use the same brokerage that I trade in here in Canada, I would highly recommend them. It's a $50 referral bonus, so you actually get $50 towards your first trade commissions if you use the link below. Now without further ado, let's jump right in and get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today we're going to be talking about Ayurcann Holdings Corp. Trades under the ticker symbol AYUR here on the Canadian securities side of things. Now the thing that's so exciting about Ayurcann for me personally is obviously they're involved in the extraction space, which we mentioned in the open. But if you look at the market cap here, they're sitting around $25 million Canadian. So they're substantially smaller than some of the other extraction plays we've looked at on this channel, like Neptune, for example, or the Valens company. So I'm really looking at this as an up-and-coming company in the space and an opportunity to get in at the ground level. Now in this video, we're going to do a full deep dive analysis, look at their investor presentation, then we're actually going to compare them to some of these other extraction plays. And then to finish things off, we're going to look at a research report that just came out from an analyst that initiated coverage on Ayurcann and talk about their price prediction for this company moving forward. Now if we look at a chart, I've got a 6-month up on the screen here. So unlike a lot of the other companies in this space, Ayurcann has actually been uptrending over the last couple of months here. So you can see back in April, they were trading around 15 cents. Fast forward to May, they're up in the 17, 18 cent range. June, they're trading up in the 19s. And then back in July, they were actually up in the 20s. So they have been moving in the right direction, which I think is really a testament to what management has been doing at this company. Now, as of close on July 29th, so Thursday close, they were down half a cent per share to close out at 23.5 cents Canadian. So I honestly think at these type of prices, you guys, you're getting in at a very attractive valuation for this company. And we're going to discuss exactly why that is as we move through this presentation. So if we jump over to the Ayurcann website, the first tab I wanted to take a look at was the About Us. So as mentioned, Ayurcann is a leading post-harvest solutions provider, so extraction solution provider with a focus on providing custom and pharma-grade products for the adult use and medical MJ industry here in Canada. So we're going to talk about some of their offerings on the medical side of things as well later in the presentation, but another facet to this company that's really exciting, Ayurcann offers end-to-end full outsourcing solutions including extraction, refinement, formulation, packaging, fulfillment, and distribution. They have the experience, the expertise, and the network to assist partners, so third-party MJ LPs, whatever the case is, in the Canadian and international market. So again, similar to some of the other companies like Valens, for example, that we've talked about on this channel, but really involved in the third-party processing, extraction, white labeling, that type of space within the MJ value chain. And as you guys know, that's the part of this industry that I'm super excited about. The licensed producers, the cultivators, the growers, I think margins there really are going to be pressed over the next couple of years. And we're actually going to see how that can benefit companies like Ayurcann when they're actually able to acquire the product at sub-market prices later in the video. Now, one other thing I'll call out before we get into the actual presentation deck, Ayurcann is based in Pickering, Ontario, so within what's considered the GTA or Greater Toronto Area. So I think that could be viewed as an advantage as well. Now the Valens company is building out a GTA facility as well, but for right now, Ayurcann really does have the benefit of being located or based in the most populous province in Canada, being Ontario. Now in terms of the value chain and the products or services that Ayurcann really offers to their customers, you can see cultivation is really not in focus for this company, nor is the medical or recreational retail, but instead they're really focused on the middle of the value chain here. So again, Ayurcann is really focused on the post-harvest solution, whether that's extraction, formulation, purification, product manufacturing or white labeling, fulfillment, packaging, branding, and they've also got some distribution involved in there. And in my personal opinion, this is really where the growth and the margins are going to be the most attractive over the next couple of years as we start to see the build out of MJ 2.0 and 3.0 products here in the Canadian and US market. So now that we've talked what it is exactly Ayurcann provides or does, I thought this would be a really cool slide to add in just to kick things off. So this really talks about some of the investment highlights. Traditionally, companies will put this at the end of the investor presentation, but I thought it was cool Ayurcann actually put it front and center, just so you can really have these things in the back of your mind as we're going through the rest of this video. So number one, front and center here, EBITDA and cash flow positive. So for a company specifically in this industry and especially of this size, those are two very rare things to find and definitely attractive as a potential investor. So as of right now, I don't hold any shares in Ayurcann, but this is definitely one that I put at the top of my watch list. Again, because I'm really excited or bullish about the MJ industry as a whole on a macro scale. And I think companies involved in the extraction, processing, CPG type of space are really going to benefit in a massive way over the next couple of years. So this one fits the bill 100%. They've got high margin branded products. We're going to look at that a little bit later with their Explore brand. They're debt free. So this one you can see is in the largest font. This again is extremely rare, really for most companies in the world, but particularly companies of this size, small caps like this that are really building out their infrastructure and expanding their facilities, which again we're going to look at a little bit later in the presentation. They've got 20 plus clients within the first 6 months of their operation. So they've got a diversified revenue stream and they're not concentrated with just one or two big clients, which again spreads out that risk, especially for a smaller cap company like Ayurcann. They're asset light with a low capex spend. They've got high gross margins. We're going to talk about that as well. Very low OPEX, so operating expenditures compared to CAPEX, which is capital expenditures. And that really allows them to get great operating leverage within their business. And they're a leading MJ 2.0 product manufacturer. So again, you're seeing that 2.0 and 3.0 within the presentation here. That, in my opinion, is really going to be where the growth in this sector comes from. The edibles, the topicals, the drinks, so on and so forth. I don't necessarily think the money to be made in the MJ space is going to be with the flower or dried product itself or necessarily at the retail experience. I think the middle of the value chain is really where you want to be as a company in this industry. And that's exactly what this slide talks about. So the market opportunity, the rapidly growing MJ 2.0 market segment. So you can see here the market itself, so the Canadian MJ market overall holistically is expected to grow 300% from 2020 to 2025. So moving from just over $3 billion to just over $10 billion. So again, macro scale here, you guys, massive growth. But the 2.0 segment itself, so again, topicals, edibles, vape pens, capsules, tinctures, gel caps, drinks. This is expected to grow 230% just between 2019 and 2022. And this chart is exactly why I'm so bullish on companies that are involved in the creation of 2.0 MJ products. Now, in terms of the track record with Ayurcann and some of the recent milestones, I mentioned they're looking to build out their facility and actually undergoing some expansion. So back in 2018, that's when they actually submitted their Health Canada application. So this is a relatively new company here, you guys. It's not like they've been around for decades like some of the others that we've talked about on this channel. They completed their first round of financing. This is really when they started building their facility out. and that's when things got up and off the ground. Now in 2019, they got their Health Canada high-level approval, they secured their first client, they had their research and development license granted, and they actually received and installed both their extraction and purification equipment. Now fast forward to 2020 and 2021, this is really where it gets exciting for Ayurcann. So in Q1 of last year, they were granted their standard processing license, and that enabled them to really commence operation. So following that, from Q2 to Q4, so the last 3 quarters of the year, they produced over $2.5 million in revenue. So this was their first year in operation. They paid off all of their outstanding debt. They processed or extracted over 16,000 kilograms of biomass. And that's where they really started to expand their service offering to that full suite of products we saw a few slides ago. Now in 2021, the growth is really looking to continue. So similar to the Valence company, they're aggressively building out their SKU count. They've submitted over 40 applications to the Ontario MJ store and Health Canada. They've commenced phase 2 of their facility. So they're actually building out a larger location, which is going to allow them to process and extract more material. Their sales license was granted on January 14th, so that was a massive milestone for this company. And as we continue to move through 2021, you can see they launched their Explore branded medical products. So we're going to look at that. That's actually those high margin in-house products that we talked about, and they were just recently added to the CanMart platform. So that's super exciting. They're getting now involved with the distribution for their partners. And again, talking about growth, increasing 3 times their manufacturing capability or capacity. So a ton of things to be excited about. We'll see how the rest of 2021 continues to play out for Ayurcann, but definitely a strong track record here, you guys, and a good solid foundation being created for this company. So that growth and that solid foundation is really what's enabled Ayurcann to start offering such a wide variety of solutions. So this is 3 of the different verticals that they focus on. They've also got the medical products, which we're going to talk about after these 3. So really their bread and butter is the extraction and refinement. Again, very similar to Neptune, the Valence company, even MediPharm Labs, which we've covered on this channel before. So make sure you check those videos out as well. They've got the bulk oil sales. And then third is their white label manufacturing. And this specifically is the division or area that I'm most excited and encouraged about as a potential investor. So we'll go through these one by one in a little bit more detail for you guys. So in terms of the extraction and refinement, we already mentioned they've processed over 16,000 kilograms of biomass to date. We're going to look at their facility's overall production capability or capacity a little bit later in the video, but definitely worth noting here, and specifically the growth trajectory of the biomass that they're extracting at the bottom left here. So you can see in Q1, under 500 kilograms, they had a 600% increase into Q2. They were almost at 2,500 kilograms, 186% increase into Q3, just over 4,500 kilograms. And by Q4 of 2020, over 9,300 kilograms of biomass was extracted. So again, a 205% increase over Q3. So exponential growth. Now they've really positioned themselves as a specialist in ethanol extraction. So this is one of the most popular and common ways to extract MJ. They've got low cost structure and high volume production capabilities, which again we're going to look at, with a fast and flexible production model, allowing them to really pivot and be agile as the business environment or client requests change. Now switching over to the bulk oil side of things, or bulk oil sales, this is actually where Ayurcann is seeing the benefit of that oversupply in terms of the flower market. So they were actually able to secure 10,000 kilograms of biomass below market prices. So you guys have heard me talk a number of times about the licensed producers, cultivators being in a little bit of trouble, in my personal opinion, over the next couple of years. But for companies like this that really focus on post cultivation, they're actually able to benefit from oversupply and get their core inputs at an even better or more competitive price. So this oil is really what goes into a lot of the core 2.0 products for their partners. So things like edibles, topicals, vape cartridges all require this extracted oil, whether it's in the form of CBD or THC, crude oil, distillate, or isolate. So the third segment here is really focused on the white label manufacturing. Now very similar to the chart we saw on the biomass extraction growth. This graph here talks about the number of products or SKUs that Ayurcann has in market. So in Q1 they had no products in market. Again, they were just getting off the ground, Fast forward to Q2, they had 3 SKUs. That tripled up to 10 SKUs in Q3 of 2020. And by the end of last year, they had 19 different SKUs or products available. So again, exponential growth there. We've seen that they have a number of additional SKUs pending approval from Health Canada and the OCS. And I personally expect this SKU count to continue to expand dramatically for the remainder of 2021 and moving forward into subsequent years. Now, the fourth area of this company is really that Medical Explore brand. This was launched back in February of 2021 with an initial 6 product lineup or 6 SKUs. They focus on a number of different applications here, so tinctures, vape pens, topicals, and as mentioned, the Explore brand has really started to gain some traction. And if we jump into one of the most recent news articles here, this was back from April 29th this year. This talks about Ayurcann really entering into supply agreements with CanMart, which obviously is owned by Namaste, and Patient Choice. So 2 different platforms for medical MJ. Now this is a 12-month supply agreement with both platforms with the option to renew at the end of the year. And they're really going to be harnessing a drop shipping method with those initial 6 SKUs that we talked about just a couple of seconds ago. Now to wrap up the investor presentation here, before we get into the analyst report, I did want to talk about the financial highlights. So you can see revenue growth again for 2020 to 2021, really moving up and to the right quite nicely. So Q1 came in at 870,000. They were then just under 1.6 million in Q2 of 2021. In Q3, they came in at 2.6 million, which was nearly 70% growth quarter over quarter. Again, you guys, this is a market cap of $25 million. So very healthy top line revenue considering the size of this company. And then this chart shows the client growth. So again, up to 20 clients here as of Q4 2020. This number, again, I expect to grow dramatically as we move through the next couple of years here. Now, the other thing worth mentioning, they've got about 120,000 shares outstanding on a fully diluted basis, but they've got a massive portion of those, I think around 40-45%, that are actually held by insiders. So although they have a fairly large float for a company of this size, a lot of insider ownership here, which again is a definite plus for me as a potential investor. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about in the investor deck is actually this competitive landscape chart. So if you scroll down here, you can see we've talked about almost all of these on the channel before with the exception of phyto extraction. But what's pretty interesting for me is if you look at the annual extraction capacity of Ayurcann, so right now sitting at 200,000 kilograms. After their expansion is complete, they're going to be up at 300,000 kilograms. They're actually doubling the size, even with their current capacity, of phyto extraction and Neptune, which is pretty astonishing when you look at the enterprise value and market cap that some of these competitors really command at over $200 million. Now, Valens, obviously this is my biggest position. This is a company I'm extremely excited about as well in this space, but they have an annual extraction capacity of 425,000 kilograms. So they really are the leader here in Canada. They're based in Kelowna like we talked about, but their enterprise value market cap is over $500 million here, you guys. So you can see at $25 million market cap, Ayurcann is substantially undervalued compared to any of their competitors. When you look at their extraction capacity, not to mention the fact that they have positive cash flow, EBITDA, and 0 debt. So again, these are some of the reasons, you guys. I think this one really is a diamond in the rough, and I was so excited that I got on to Ayurcann. And that's actually a perfect segue into this analyst report I found. So this is from Fundamental Research Corp. They actually initiated coverage on Ayurcann back at the start of July, so July 7th. And if we open up the research report, there's a number of really important bullets that I wanted to walk you guys through before we end out this video. So first and foremost here, you guys, you can see that they've given a fair value price on Ayurcann of 71 cents. So compared to their current share price in the mid to low 20s, you're looking at tremendous upside with the opportunity to double, triple, maybe even quadruple your investment if their bullish thesis comes to fruition. Now, we've talked about most of these points in the investor presentation. One that stood out for me is actually the square footage of that Pickering, Ontario location. So just about 11,000 square feet. This is where the co-packing, white labeling, processing all takes place for both the 2.0 and 3.0 products. Now, they're expecting to release Q4 numbers later this summer, I think in late August. And they're really expecting Q4 to show record revenue for Ayurcann, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention here, Ayurcann also operates an e-commerce marketplace for medical cannabinoids, and they just recently signed a partnership with the Bazilet Group, which is Israel's largest medical MJ company. So they're going to actually help distribute Bazilet's products across Canada here. And across that platform, they're averaging about 9,000 customers per month. So that's another huge driver for this company that we're going to talk about in more detail on one of my future videos on Ayurcann. But I did want to put it on your guys' radar here. Now, they talk again about the expansion of their facilities, that 300,000 kilogram annual capacity target, which is going to enable them to produce up to 3 million individual units, whether it's bombs, vape pens, creams, whatever the case is. Now, once that is up and running and they're at full capacity, we're looking at revenue projections upwards of $250 million, $250 million per year for this company. So 10 times their current market cap on an annualized revenue basis. Now, this analyst report, to be conservative, has assumed that Ayurcann reaches only a fifth or 20% of that maximum revenue run rate by 2025, which I personally think is easily doable given the growth that we've seen over the last couple of quarters. Now, a few other things I wanted to point out in this report. These are awesome if you can get your hands on these, you guys, because they really do thoroughly analyze the company top to bottom. But you can see we talked about gross margins in the neighborhood 30 to 40%, so very healthy margins for this business. The other thing we mentioned in the investor deck was actually the amount of insider ownership. So if you scroll down here, you can see between the CEO and the president or COO of this company, they own over 45% of the shares. So that's, again, extremely exciting as a potential investor. Now, we didn't talk a lot about leadership in this presentation, but Eagle Sudman, who's the CEO and co-founder, again, I love companies that are founder-led, has actually developed previous businesses that have made their way onto the Canadian Profit 50 list. He's got over 20 years experience in a number of different industries, ranging from real estate to technology and MJ. So again, this is something we can talk about in subsequent videos, but very strong leadership team here. And obviously they're personally invested in a big way in the success of Ayurcann. And then the final point I wanted to mention on here, for those of you who have maybe been following this company over recent quarters, you can see they did post a net loss in Q3 of this year. Now, that was a one-time expense related to listing fees. So they had to pay nearly $1 million for listing-related fees in that quarter. So I wouldn't let that scare you off, you guys, because again, that's not going to be something that we see consistently moving forward. So to close things out here, you guys, I think Ayurcann is a very unique company in the sense that it's involved in the MJ space, which I'm extremely bullish on. It's got a very robust facility, which they're planning to expand. They've got a strong track record of growing both their customer base and their SKU count. They've got the online e-commerce platform. They've got the medical division, and this post-cultivation space, I think, is poised for massive growth over the next couple of years here in Canada and internationally. So for those reasons, you guys, as mentioned, I've put Ayurcann on the top of my watch list. Now, in terms of price prediction, this analyst is saying in the 70-cent range. Based on the comparison we saw with some of the other extraction plays, I definitely think that is conservative, and I think there's a lot of upside potential in this company moving forward. And I would highly encourage you guys to take a look if you're looking for exposure in that extraction, CPG, third-party processing type of space within the MJ industry. Now, as always, you guys, please take a second to like this video, hit the thumbs up. It helps out in a massive way. If you're not already subscribed to the channel itself, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of Ayurcann, if you're currently holding shares, and what you personally think about their growth prospects moving forward. Now, as always, I'll keep you guys posted if and when I do decide to take a position in Ayurcann, but I definitely can see that happening in the immediate future here. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and have a great rest of your day.